Hey folks, Brian Karem, the last White House correspondent for Playboy Magazine, famous for calling out to Donald Trump and getting Trump to self-incriminate on the issue of whether he would support the winner of the 2020 election, came on my live stream. We had a great conversation. Brian's funny as hell. He told us what we need to do to save democracy, what we need to do to defeat Trump, and why we lost. Yes, this is the biggest reason. This is something Democrats will have to solve. And you can watch it all right here in my conversation with Brian for a couple minutes. Check it out.
We had some limits on political speech. We've decided never to enforce them. We've decided on other ones, to let these sort of extremists define what, that you can say anything. And the truth is we know if you don't have information, you talked about the fairness doctrine disappearing and other things. If people don't get the truth, and there is one singular truth, if they don't get the truth about things, they can't vote then knowing the truth. And therefore, we're going to get elections like this where all sorts of people will vote for somebody and then afterwards tell you they didn't even know a lot of things about them.
I don't know if there's one truth. I know there's one set of facts. We have to argue from the facts. And, there's 3,000 religions in the world, maybe more, and all of them have their truths. So settle on let's start with vetted facts. And that's where we need to be. Well, until Ronald Reagan threw out the fairness doctrine and all the media ownership restrictions, and there are plenty, and that was followed by similar actions from every succeeding president, and that includes Democrats. People did.
Bill Clinton in 1996, the Telecommunications Act was horrible.
Yes.
All right, go.
And then people trusted their newspapers, radio, and the television news. There's a cause and effect here. We're long overdue for a reintroduction of the guidelines that gave us trust in the fourth estate. Calling for that type of regulation actually supports free speech, destroys media monopolies, and provides us with a fertile ground of vetted facts, which leads to cogent and meaningful discussion on the issues of public debate. And that's because when you reintroduce these guidelines, you reintroduce the idea of responsible free speech and allowing social media platforms to publish disinformation, often behind anonymous handles. And this is where I get pissed off with social media. Register in your name, own what it is that you say. But they're not going to do that because then you wouldn't have the bot farms, and the anonymity allows you to make more money because it promotes dishonesty. It maximizes profits for the platforms at the expense of the audience they exploit and poisons the well of information from which we all drink. Going forward, if you want reliable information, you have to reintroduce the regulations that stress facts over profits. And those regulations have to be enhanced by including social media. This isn't censorship. This is the opposite of censorship. It's a promotion of facts over dangerous propaganda. And Cliff, we all used to realize this. There is a lot of nuance in this issue. You can't shout fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire, which is in effect what people are doing when they invent their own facts or give alternative facts. Libel and slander are not protected speech. So if you can identify who's libeling you or slandering you, you can take action against them. But if they're from some anonymous handle, you can't do anything about it. Satire is protected. Courts of law decide on disagreements. Anti-SLAPP legislation protects the small and independent publishers against corporate bullies.
You get up on your little 21-inch screen and howl about America and democracy. There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today.
And remember, there's about 6 of those that own and operate everything you see, read, or hear. And if you write something about a large corporation like Monsanto or Dow and you're investigating them, they decide to sue you into non-existence, anti-SLAPP legislation won't let them do it. But please, I said, please tweet out simple, misleading accusations. It's so helpful in solving the difficult, important problems by further dividing the electorate at our expense, while the rich keep getting richer. And that's the problem in a nutshell. I get tired of people saying it's a liberal media. It's not a liberal media.
Oh, my God.
It's a
corporate media. What a joke.
It's geared toward money. So what they do is entertain you by playing to your own prejudice. We no longer inform you. It's base entertainment, and it needs to end. There's my rant.
Let me say a couple things but I think you brought up a couple key and important points. One, when we have an owner of the Washington Post who pulls back and will not allow an endorsement to be made because he's worried about regulations for his not side project, his main project, Amazon, we're in a ridiculous place.
Well,
the lack of breaking up monopolies in this country, the lack of antitrust action that's been one of the Democrats' biggest failures as far as I'm concerned. I know it's not easy, but I mean, again, when you brought up, and this is not just, I mean, this is, conglomerates, but when you bring up media companies, we were complaining, I was somewhat of a kid then, but in the 80s, people were complaining about, oh my God, the media is becoming too, it's getting too concentrated. We had 60-something media companies, and we now have 6, as you said, that control like 80 to 90% of our media. It's insane.
When I first, and that goes back to your first question about the New York Times and the Washington Post, and I think it's an act of cowardice what they do, and it's all about protecting their own self-interest, and I think they're horrible. And I think that finding a well-informed news organization is, or if you're counting on a well-informed news organization, you might as well give it up. That's not going to happen until you break up the media monopolies. When I first got into this business in the 80s, here's the facts. 80% of what you see, read, or hear at that time was owned by 24 companies. There were maybe 60 or 70 players out there on the landscape, and a lot of smaller, very small, community newspapers that were independently owned. Today, 6 companies own or operate 90% of what you see, read, or hear. Here's some facts for you. There are twice the number of people on this planet as on the day that I was born. There's a quarter of the number of reporters.